This is very important, guys, for people that want to click and go to another video. If you are playing in a band, does have any desire to play in a band, this video is very important. It will help you. Sometimes when you have something potentially good, a lot of human nature, when you have something that's good, people tend to squash it and ruin it, whether it's relationships, bands. Hello friends, welcome once again to the Humble Guitar Abode. Can I talk to y'all? Now guys, I'm coming to you as an older musician who's been around the block many times with bands. I could tell you so many stories about dealing with musicians, being in bands, gigging, but I really decided to come up with a series that might help some of you all out there called Playing in a Band Would Be Better If. Now, the first installment of this little series, where I'm going to upload videos on this topic from time to time, impart my knowledge, impart my mistakes, my pearls of wisdom, so to speak. One simple thing that musicians can do to make things so much better, so much better, is learning how to apologize and try to make amends and fix certain situations that are potentially very good. You would be amazed at how many bands that are making money or have the potential to do well and make money. I'm not even talking about being signed and touring the world, but just as functional, even cover bands, functional bands that get lots of gigs and earn income. Dealing with musicians is a big skill. Now, I was never perfect. You know, I'm a little older. I have a better sense of self-awareness now. And again, part of the reason I wanted to start this channel wasn't just to give guitar lessons and do product reviews and all that. I realize I have a lot of experiences and knowledge that I can pass on to a lot of you. So, this is very important, guys, for people that want to click and go to another video. If you are playing in a band, does have any desire to play in a band, this video is very important. It will help you. So I'm going to give you two case scenarios from my past experiences. The first one was where I was in the wrong, and the second one was where I left a situation I could have done really well, that was doing well. So on my end, the first one. So this is going to be in 2002. It was a very tumultuous year for me. I was working at trying to get my own teaching business, music businesses going. And I was in a tumultuous relationship that I was not happy in. I was living with this individual and it was coming to an end. During that summer, I remember being very strapped for cash, and I played with this band. They were good. They were an original, very technical, almost death metal band, really. Now, I'm a hard rock guy, I'm a thrash guy. Those were a lot of my roots. As you all know, I eventually got into country music. I studied jazz. A lot of different things happened as I got on as an adult. But this was around 2002, so basically almost 20 years ago. I was getting out of a bad relationship. And you know what happens when a relationship ends? Sometimes, you know, you're splitting up assets, someone's moving out, there's a lot of tension, stress, and sometimes you can get surprised with some bills that were supposed to be paid that weren't. So for a guy that was already strapped for cash, you know, I realized that there was these other bills that I understood were supposed to be paid up, and they weren't. So I had a lot going on. It was a very stressful time. But anyway, I had jammed with and auditioned with this band. They had an original album out. They had played at Milwaukee Metal Fest. They were quite good at what they did, but the area they lived in was somewhat remote where I was living. So to find you know, a second guitar player to kind of do what they needed was very hard for them. So I auditioned. It was just a different vibe with the band. Everyone was nice. I wouldn't say people were overly friendly or anything, but it was just a different vibe. But I jammed with them a couple of times, and it was kind of like, okay, so you're in the band. I'm like, okay, cool. Looking back, I wish I gave the situation a little bit more time. As you know, sometimes we rush into things, or we get into things and think, well, this is kind of like the most convenient situation or whatever. But anyway, I digress. But once I got into the band, then I got hit with all these expenses. They weren't discussed before I joined, they were discussed after I was in. It's like, okay, we're going in the studio in a couple of weeks to do a new album, so your share of everything is this, 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 and this. And I'm like, oh. And then, okay, so we also have a travel van, and you are responsible to pay the insurance, and when we travel, like, you have to, you know, so much money for gas. And I'm like, oh my God, if there was ever a worse time in my life to be in this situation. So I I remember talking to the guy, he was kind of the main guy in the band, and I just kind of said, this is a really bad time for me. I don't think I can, you know, financially do this. And he was like, okay, well, you know, we'll figure it out, just do what you can, da 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 da. So anyway, they recorded this album. It was just a weird vibe in that band. It wasn't all bad by any means, but I don't think it was my real calling. But anyway, I recorded with this band. I played leads on the album, and I was also doing the website. I was kind of taking on a lot to try and help the band and everything, but I was just overwhelmed with my own personal situation and finances. I didn't have time to be in a band that was going to cost me money. I had to focus on getting my bills paid so I could eat. So it just was a bad time. And anyway, it just got kind of deteriorated to the point where I gave my notice, and that was that. It had gotten back to me through some reliable sources that a member of the band was really bad-mouthing me, and I really took offense to it because I'm like, okay, I joined your band, I filled in for gigs, I spent hundreds of dollars like I didn't have, so you could do your album and pay for this and pay for that. I really took offense to it, and I got on the computer and I blasted, not even the guy who did that, who was, you know, he's a bit of a douchebag anyway, but the guy who kind of ran the band, and I sent him a really nasty email. And he never wrote me back directly, but I always felt bad about it for many, many, many years. Probably almost 10 years. And then one day I just wrote him and I said, hey, it bothered me so much that one day I wrote him and I just said, hey man, you know, I'm not expecting you to respond back. I just want you to know I feel very badly, and I felt very badly for writing that to you. You know, I just kind of reiterated it was a very bad time in my life, and I was beyond stressed out financially, and I was spending money I didn't have to try and help you guys keep things afloat. So then when I heard all this, not that there's any excuse to do that, but the bottom line is I reached out to the guy, I apologized, and to my surprise, he wrote me back. He said, okay, cool, man, it's cool. You know, we got together a few times, we hung out. I'm happy to call him a friend. You know, we, although we don't have any musical plans together, but it's just nice knowing that that bridge isn't burnt, and, you know, I manned up and I took responsibility for that situation, and it just righted a wrong, so to speak. Yes, I had my reasons to be frustrated or whatever, but now it just felt good, the fact that he and I are on good terms, and, you know, we do kind of keep in touch from a distance, where our life's very busy. But I manned up. I said, okay, well, I got to do what I have to do here. So that was that situation. I manned up. I said, I'm sorry. Okay, cool. All is well. Now, on the flip side, I had a situation. I played in a three-piece country band that was very popular, and I played a lot of gigs. I made a lot of contacts. I did this band for a couple of years, and then when it kind of fizzled out, I started my own three-piece band, and I had a lot of contacts. I was really getting the feel of how to get a lot of gigs. So when I started this band, I did this band with a drummer I knew that I had some history with, and also we brought in a guy who played bass and sang. He was a talented singer. He was a little bit older than I was, but he was a good-looking older guy, and he seemed to have a good attitude. We met, and I told him, I said, like, I took out a big loan to get PA equipment, to get mixing boards, to get all this stuff, because I wanted to do this right. And also, like, I ran the band. I booked 90% of the gigs. I took care of the website. So like on Saturdays, if we gig Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, it was all afternoon Sunday when I just wanted to relax. No, I was on the computer updating the website with pictures, and it just takes so much to run a business in general, let alone a band business. I had three things that I made very clear when I met these three men when we started the band. Be on time. We provided our own sound and lighting, so it's a lot of work for a three-piece band to get set up and do a gig. It's not fair. Things happen sometimes, but it's not fair routinely to have the work put on just one or two people. It's not a nice situation. So be on time. We're a professional band. You can't, you know, be well-groomed, bring your best dress attire, because, you know, when you're playing at weddings and higher-end gigs, you got to look professional. And, you know, if you come in looking like you just got out of the hunting camp after 3 weeks, it's not good. And number three, don't use cheat stands. Like, you know, like, don't bring a whole thing of cheat sheets on music stands. Anyway, to make a long story short, this guy, I don't know what his problem was. I did my share. Actually, probably one of the mistakes I made is I booked a whole year of gigs. And I didn't even know this guy. I should have taken my time more, gotten to know him, because there was warning signs. You know, we did our first jam 2 weeks later after we met, and then we start getting into the first song. He's like, oh, so sorry guys, I didn't have much time to work on the material. Well, we provided you with the songs. Like, there was warning signs from the beginning. Anyway, the band had a fairly successful first year, but it just seemed like he had that personality where like he had to go against the system all the time. He started being late all the time, forgetting his stage clothes, not caring about his appearance. It became very apparent that he was just showing up to get paid and to do as little work as possible. So at the end of the first year, I told the drummer, I said, look, it's not working with this guy. Very hard for me to market this. And I tried to voice my concerns, but it landed on deaf ears, so I started doing some work for some other acts and stuff, and I slowed down the bookings. And in my area, there was one band that was extremely popular, but we were probably a distant second, but we had a lot of bookings that first year. But when he got paid, he never really had a real solid paying gig for a long time. When he got paid, it was his money, cash in his pocket. When I got paid, I had to go put money on the loan that I had to get all the equipment. So there was a lot of frustration there. I was spending every extra second on it. I only took a little bit extra for basically being the band manager and doing everything I did. There was a lot going on. So at the year and a half point, one day we were playing at a wedding and we were packing up. As he was putting my $1,000+ mixing board into the road case, he says to me, you shouldn't take any extra money. I think we should just, we should split the money evenly. I said, oh really? Yeah, no, I think that. So I'm ready to kill the guy. I'm literally ready to beat this guy to a pulp. And the drummer knew about the tension. He knew the whole time, although he was my friend. So I did the honorable thing. I filled in for a month. Really looking back, I wish I just said, okay guys, this isn't working. We're not keeping our agreements. And I wish I got 2 other members to replace them and carry on. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out that way. But I quit. They went from being a very booked band. They did 2 gigs that I'm aware of. One was a gig that I routinely got the band. It was a private gig. They didn't know of the band change. The people that did the booking, they hired the band. It wasn't the same. They got another guitar player. And they told me firsthand, they contacted me and said, like, why weren't you there? It was really bad. And then they played at another really, hole in the wall, pool hall that I never would have booked the band in. And then they packed up. So the bottom line with that is they had a good functional business that could have done really good things. We were making some good money, and if they just would have been on board, we could have done even better. My problem especially was with the bass player. It's like, okay, he just never seemed to appreciate anything. Never a, hey guys, you know what, dinner's on me tonight, thanks for all the great gigs and having me. He just was an asshole. And it just amazed me that he obviously knew that I wasn't happy, that he just let it go, let a really good paying gig go instead of, calling up saying, hey man, I think I screwed up. There was a good paying gig. Like, what can I do to work it out with you? Can we talk about it? Nothing. Playing in bands would be better if musicians could be adults and be responsible and apologize and try and fix situations that they fuck up. All right, guys, I hope that helps. Have some self-awareness when you're dealing with other musicians. I know when you're younger, it's an acquired skill to have. But remember, sometimes when you have something potentially good, a lot of human nature, when you have something that's good, people tend to squash it and ruin it, whether it's relationships, bands. If you have something good in your life, nurture it. Give it the care and the effort that it needs to grow, and then everyone benefits. Anyways, guys, I hope that helps. Think about that. Like, really think about that when you're in a band. Any comments, comment below. Remember, practice hard, practice smart, and we'll see you soon.